Yes, indeed, folks. You know what? I'm not done on this whole thing. Seriously, I got way more to talk about on this particular issue, so I'm going to do what I rarely ever do and allow a topic to overflow into a second segment for a little while. Let me just tell you why posts like this on the Exodus front page are just bad for the game in general. Here's the problem with the community, yeah? The community. I put that in air commas, as they call it, inverted commas, just saying the community. Yes. It doesn't really exist. Alright, we already know that. But what I will say about the player base in general is that they are the most ineffectual bunch of lumps I have ever seen. This is the player base in general. Why do you think all of this stupid stuff ends up happening in WoW that we really can't do an awful lot about? Let me tell you why that is. Because there are only a precious few groups of people that actually get listened to within the WoW community. And everybody else is too busy being at each other's throats to get anything done. I mean, for instance, this whole Yogg-Saron thing, and indeed the Hodir thing as well, and the other bugs that we can find in there. This crap has been going on for the past 5 years, right? And the top tier of raiding guilds has always had to endure this rubbish. Yeah, they've constantly had to endure this rubbish. They've been on the PTRs, banging their heads against content they don't want to do right then, because it gets boring by the time they get onto the live servers. But they've got to. They don't have a choice in the matter, because otherwise the damn stuff will not work. Because Blizzard can't test their own game. Therein lies the problem. They get Uber guilds to do it. They can't test, they can't balance, they can't tune for nuts. And they've been doing it for 5 years, and they still can't do it. Why are you not furious about that? And more to the point, why are you spending all your time bitching and whining about other guilds, as opposed to bitching and whining at the people who are causing the problems in the first place, who are of course Blizzard's instance design team? This is why we can't get anything done. Because you're too busy at each other's throats to form a unified front. You got the friggin' Berlin Wall apparently floating in the middle of the Atlantic between the US and the EU, who cannot possibly agree on anything. Because the US views the EU as a bunch of frickin' social commie welfare states, and we view the US as a bunch of dunder-headed, boulder-dashing, arrogant bastards. Warmongering arrogant bastards, I might add. We can't get anything done because you guys can't put down the frickin' handbags. Grow up, every single last one of you. Grow the hell up. You want to be effectual? You want changes that matter? You want to hold Blizzard to account? Then try not being viewed by Blizzard as a bunch of 7-year-olds fighting over toys and cookies. It's pathetic. Absolutely frickin' pathetic. Posts like that on the front page of and quoted as an official statement, no less. Official statement. You wouldn't know the meaning of the word. You're more of a PR disaster than I am, and I go out of my way to be a PR disaster. It's kind of part of my modus operandi. And indeed, I actually screwed that up. My modus operandi. Brand new Latin words, courtesy of Blue Please. Decipher it and get a prize. That's what I do. I'm a shock jock. Get people annoyed, riled up. Shout at people a lot, rant a bit. People find it entertaining. That's what I do. And yet I can't make as much of a fool of myself as Exodus managed to this week. Official statement, my arse. That wouldn't be out of place on Something Awful's YCS forum. It's drama, pure strained drama. Bloody pathetic. Grow up. Anyway, I think we're done with that topic, so let's get on to another one. Drama, of course, being the theme of this week's show. We've got more drama coming in the form of a new change that has been proposed, as it were, by Blizzard. Something they're going to be implementing in the not-too-distant future. You can find out about this by heading over to MMO Champion, which is my premier source for news, I must say. Big fan of MMO Champion, like it very much. And there's a nice Q&A there about switching sides. Yes, the Switcher movie finally coming true, apparently. And what it's going to allow you to do is switch faction with your current character. Now, we didn't know an awful lot about this until the faction change Q&A came up on the 1st of July. And there's a number of interesting questions. The ones that really came to mind for me were, would you be able to pick which race you changed into? And the answer was yes, but you were restricted to the same kind of class limit, so no gnome druids. Sorry, Dunkor. Now, your dreams have been shattered in that regard. Now, I do not really find this change to be anything too much to worry about. There's a lot of rage going on about it. There's a lot of anger saying, oh, Blizzard said they'd never do this, blah, blah. Well, they really didn't, actually. I don't recall a single instance of that being said. It is a service that evidently people want. It's a service that Blizzard can make money off of. And, you know, just bear this in mind. We can try and hold Blizzard accountable all we damn well please, but all we can really do is vote with our feet and be responsible consumers. Because Blizzard is a company and they're out to make as much money as possible, particularly with their new boss. The new boss of Blizzard Activision sounds like a right knob end. Literally, exploit our franchises for maximum profit potential. Har har. Yeah, don't mind if you alienate your freaking core fanbase in the process. We don't need them, right? Just develop something for the Wii. I can imagine that. Warcraft Wii Sports. Swing your Frostmourne and hit Murlocs. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Now, there's not an awful lot to say about the FAQ other than the fact that there will be mechanisms in place to stop balance issues, yeah? Population balance. So you can't empty a side of Alliance. That's just not going to happen, or Horde as it happens. Also, you're not going to be able to switch willy-nilly. There is going to be a limit on the frequency of which players can change their faction. Reputation gear and mounts, etc. Quote, we'll have more details available at a later point in time, though we plan to keep those as close to a reflection of the other faction as much as possible. Which is interesting, because that indicates to me that if you're switching from Alliance to Horde, and you had a human character, that you might end up actually losing rep. It's possible. They might reduce the rep. Now, there are a number of concerns with this particular change, and of course the first concern is ZOMG Flavor of the Month. Now, this is the first transfer change that has allowed you to gain a specific advantage in-game, and this is why it's a bit controversial. Now, that advantage is not very big, but I do foresee a problem here. And the problem is simply this. Racials don't really affect the game all that much, but they are a differentiating factor, particularly in PvP. Now, what I can see happening is a Flavor of the Month issue, whereby if a racial gets buffed or a racial gets nerfed, you have a bunch of people moving to the other faction to pick up the better racials, particularly arena teams and stuff like that. I don't think this is going to be so much of an issue for PvEers, but for PvPers, I can see that happening quite a bit. Is that a big deal? It could be. The threat, in my opinion, is that if players do this too much, it's going to be an excuse for Blizzard, and I think they've been looking for this for a while, to homogenize racials even more than they already are, because racials are a bit of a pain to balance. Racials consist of asymmetric balancing. Now, we already know that Blizzard in WoW doesn't like asymmetric balancing. They removed a lot of their asymmetric balance with the homogenization of classes, and, of course, the introduction of Paladins to Horde side and Shamans to Alliance. It's like, hey, we can't deal with the balance, so we're just going to get rid of it altogether. We're just going to eliminate the issue. Take the asymmetry away, and we've got two sides that are pretty much identical. Except they've got racials, which makes them a little bit different. And indeed, of course, they then went and spread out the priest racials, so they don't have to deal with that as regards to asymmetric balancing anymore. And now all they've really got left in terms of asymmetric balance is the racials. The generic racials. If this is used as an excuse to kill that, well, I will be rather annoyed, because to me, the choice of a race should be more than mere cosmetics. I've always believed that. I always believe that racials should be more powerful and more diverse, not less. There are other games that do races way, way better than WoW does. Really. This is why I viewed the release of those two... Sorry about that. The two new races in TBC is not particularly great. Because it wasn't really new content, it was just new cosmetic content. It was a new skin, a new model, a new set of dancers, and voice emotes. Nothing particularly fancy or special there, in terms of the content. So I just don't want to see that happening. Now, on the subject of giving players an advantage, particularly if you say, oh, well, they're all going to level as human, then switch over, I don't really see it as a big issue, honestly. Okay, so they get 10% extra rep. Big deal. Who cares? It doesn't really affect you in any possible respect. The stuff that matters, i.e. the competition, is at the high end of PvE and the high end of PvP. Getting extra rep doesn't really help you in either. Rep has been pretty much eliminated as a source of reasonable PvE gear, and rep does not matter in high-end PvP, because of course rep does not affect arena play in any respect, doesn't affect Winter Grasp either, and let's face it, who the hell actually got an item from the vendors for the Battlegrounds past level 60? I mean, come on. All of those items were never updated, they're useless. So is that an issue? Honestly, if someone wants to level up that way, then just let them. Really? Who cares? Does it matter? No. I suppose, again, the only problem that I really see with it is the fact of switching over. Like, for instance, if I wasn't kind of bound to the Horde right now, if I wasn't, you know, a big fan of my troll, what I would do is change my mage to a gnome. And the reason I'd change it for a gnome, well, 5% extra int. Honestly. One of the best mage ratios in the game. Or I could change it to a Draenei, because I get an extra +1 hit. And there are certain class and race combinations that are clearly superior to others. Yeah, clearly superior. So, while this doesn't allow you to change race on your side, it does allow you to go to the other side. And then, of course, if you want to deal with the cooldown, you can then go back. Will many players do it? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a minority of players that do that, a minority of min-maxers. Will it affect the game in any specific respect? No. Is it a slippery slope? I think there's the question we really have. You know, slippery slope is often a rather fallacious argument. The point has been made that past performance is not necessarily an indicator of future results. Then again, Octil and Hordak have also made the point that past performance is in fact, in some cases, a good indicator of future results. Yes, it can happen. If you have precedent, then yes, absolutely. But I've yet to see Blizzard come up with something that's really going to screw things over. I think giving people the option of how to play is a good thing. Of course, the reason for it is to make more money, but at least they're providing a service for that money and not charging for something that you could have already done. It's something new with a one-off payment. Why get so riled up about it? It seems to me there's far more important things to worry about. You know, the game itself right now is running itself into a bit of a rut. Yeah? The new content in 3.2 looks rather uninspired, at least the PvE content does. The PvP content looks great. If I was actually a PvPer, I'd go in there. And indeed, I might end up being a PvPer. You know, if they've got a new set of items and a reputation system built into that, hell yeah. You know, I'm all over the Isle of Conquest. That looks great. Why not? But the other stuff, that's stuff that I've got a concern about, and I'm not going to be distracted by smoke and mirrors like this. Well, the conspiracy theorist in me comes up with the idea that they introduce stuff like this because they know it's going to be controversial, and it takes attention away from lackluster stuff that's coming up. I mean, the Colosseum, to me, is an absolute lackluster instance by the looks of it, and I'll be talking about it in the next section. So you put in something like, hey, you can change your faction over the other side, and then a million voices suddenly cry out in terror, and the nerd rage spills over the forums for no apparent reason whatsoever. It's very easy to complain, say, oh, Blizzard, such money grabbers, blah blah blah, ruining the game. Well, yeah, they're money grabbers, they're a company. That's what they do. That's what companies do. They're not charity. If they can work out a way to squeeze more money out of you without saying, hey, let's increase the subscription price and make people leave en masse, then they will do it. You know, these bolt-ons, these one-off services, they make a lot of extra money that way. And yeah, you might say they've got enough money, but, sorry, a company never has enough money. Never. And people come up with this and say, oh, they're running the game. How exactly? Describe to me how this could possibly ruin the game in any possible way. Other than the whole thing that I've just mentioned about Flavor of the Month classes, Flavor of the Month races specifically, class-race combinations. That may affect PvP somewhat. That may affect the balance of certain arena teams. But I don't see it being a massive issue. Not at all. So let them do it. Why not? Let them put it in there. And you know what? Don't like it. There's one way to express your discontent. Don't buy it. Simple as that. My name's Total Biscuit. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. When we come back after the break, we're talking about Tier 9 and how it doesn't look so great. identikit players? We shall see. I'll be right back after this, folks. Enjoy.